morning, the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister instructed the Israel Defense Forces to take strong action against the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. Why has Israel taken this action? For two reasons. Firstly, Hamas has rejected two concrete mediation proposals presented by the US presidential envoy, Mr. Steve Witkoff, and other mediators. Israel agreed to these mediation proposals. Hamas has rejected all of the proposals. All of the proposals. Secondly, Israel has knowledge that Hamas was planning to carry out terrorist attacks against Israel. Hamas was using the ceasefire to build up its forces and rearm to re-attack. As a result, with the approval of the government, Israel's armed forces launched precise, preemptive strikes against Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad targets throughout the Gaza Strip. The following targets have been successfully hit: Hamas military commanders, officials in Hamas's leadership, terrorist cells, launch posts, weapons stockpiles, and military infrastructure used by these terror organizations, which were ready and primed to attack our people. I can confirm these strikes are ongoing. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel has learned our lessons from the October the 7th massacre. Israel will never again allow Hamas or any other genocidal terror force to build up its terror forces on our borders. Hamas has repeatedly vowed to repeat the October 7th massacre, and our duty is to stop them. The goal of this operation is to fulfill the war's objectives. Firstly, to release all of our hostages. Secondly, the dismantling of Hamas's military and governmental infrastructure, and the removal of the terrorist threat from Gaza to Israel's security and to its citizens. Israel will, from this point onwards, act against Gaza with increasing military strength. Increasing military strength. Now, when it comes to the US-Israel partnership, the strong alliance between our two nations, between Israel and the US, is stronger than ever. As such, I can confirm that the return to intense fighting in Gaza has been fully coordinated with Washington. Israel has thanked President Trump and his administration for their unyielding support for Israel, for their commitment to freeing hostages, and to the fortification of Israel's security, while simultaneously striving for peace and stability in the Middle East. So that's the end of our briefing here today. Please put your questions in the chat together with your name and your news outlet, and we'll take some of your questions. First question I can see here is from Dan Berger from the Epoch Times. What are the government's demands or conditions to Hamas for resuming the ceasefire? Thank you, Dan. I think I answered that pretty comprehensively in the briefing I've just given. I told you that Hamas had rejected the Witkoff proposals. In fact, they had rejected all of the proposals. As such, Israel has returned to fighting Hamas. Next, a question from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Does the renewal of war mean that Israel has given up on seeing more hostages released? Not at all, Joel, is the answer to that question. Not at all. Our war aims remain precisely the same. They are to get every single one of our hostages home. 59 of them remain. We believe that less than half of them are alive, but all of them, the live and those who have been already murdered by Hamas, should be returned home immediately. The destruction of Hamas's military and their governing capability, and ensuring that Hamas can no longer and Gaza can no longer form a threat to this country. Our war aims are precisely the same. Hamas have stopped releasing hostages. As such, we have the right to return to war, to put pressure on them to release our hostages. We are at war with Hamas and not with the people of Gaza. This morning, very precise instructions were given in Arabic to Gazans to evacuate the areas we were attacking. Gazans would do well to protect themselves and their families, to move away from those areas where we know there are terrorists, to move to areas which the IDF has precisely guided them to. 1,800,000 tons of aid have gone into Gaza. 1,800,000 tons of aid have gone into Gaza. Now, that is more than enough to feed all of the people in Gaza. During the 42-day ceasefire negotiations, our hostage release discussions, 25,000 trucks went in. Again, more than enough food and aid and supplies to supply the people of Gaza. In fact, enough aid and food to fill 80 sports stadiums to the brim, not just on the grass, to the brim. This is what Hamas are doing. They steal the aid, they resell the aid, they use the money to rearm, and then they aim to attack. Again, they steal the aid, they resell it at vastly increased prices, and then they're attempting to rearm, and then they want to attack. During this 42-day period, this of phase one, 25,000 aid trucks entered Gaza. There is no shortage of food in Gaza whatsoever. The only humanitarian suffering in Gaza is that of Israeli hostages who are being chained, they're being starved, and they're being held in Hamas tunnels. Hamas takes the aid that enters Gaza and is exploiting it in order to rebuild its war machine. The aid trucks have become an economic engine for Hamas. Half of Hamas's budget in Gaza comes from these trucks. Now, it was actually the former president, President Biden, that clearly stated on October the 18th, 2023, he said, these are his words, "If Hamas diverts or steals the aid, it will stop." So aid that goes to Hamas is not humanitarian, and enabling the enemy to resupply itself so it can regroup and re-attack us, as our intel has very clearly shown, that is not humanitarian. It is suicidal, and we will not allow it.